My name is Mike DeMarco. I'm a rehab chiropractor and strength coach located in Hartford, Wisconsin. And this is my story of my first year working with VALD. So if I were to describe what my practice was like before working with VALD, is that I would tell patients, it looks like you're moving better. It feels like you're getting stronger. We'd see the numbers go up on the bar, but then I would keep seeing these people come back again and again after a few months and really didn't get an answer as to why that was happening. Fast forward to July of 2024, and I'm starting to look for some type of technology to add into my office. I talked to a sports scientist friend of mine, and he said something that really resonated with me, and that was that studying range of motion is great, but at the end of the day, the most important thing to your patients and clients is their outcomes, right? You want to know how are they putting force into the world through their sport. And that was when I first started to look at VALD and what they had to offer. I've expanded to use almost the entire VALD arsenal. I started with the Force Dex and the Dynamo to help really assess the power, strength, and range of motion components that I was seeing with my patients. Later that year, I decided to add the Smart Speed because I wanted to do performance testing with athletes that I was working with. And earlier this year, I was lucky enough to get the Force Frame in the office. I have found different ways to implement every single piece of this technology into my practice and what I do to make an impact on any patient that walks through my door. It's completely changed how I have been providing care and the outcomes I've been getting with the people I work with. I think for me, one of the biggest standout moments that I've gotten from using this technology is realizing where I had gaps in my process. It wasn't as I wasn't helping people, it was that there was definitely a piece of the puzzle that I was missing. When I first started using the force plates and really starting to see that speed component and measuring things like impulse rates and rate of force development, I was starting to really find where I was missing things with the athletes I worked with. Most of my training was very focused on building the strength of the athlete, but then adding that speed and power component to it and being able to visualize that and express that to athletes. Incorporating that speed and power component has been the biggest impact to my ability as a clinician to helping the patients and athletes that I work with. As a business owner, the return of investment that I've gotten from using VALD has been second to none. Since I opened my practice back in 2018, this past year has been one of the most successful years I've ever had in business. I moved into a new space back in 2023, kind of like a reset to my business. I was in a 400 square foot space. When I started adding VALD into my practice, it allowed me to expand into this now 2,000 square foot space, making my practice way more focused on attracting my ideal clients, which are athletes. I've also been able to add several new services like performance testing, evaluations, working with local clubs and teams to help the coaches have a better understanding of how their athletes perform. Not only can they improve them on the field, but how I can improve them in the gym and in the clinic to make sure that they are able to stay healthy and recover faster. When it comes to the perception of my clinic and how people look for me and look at what I do, especially in the United States, we have a clear idea of what they think chiropractors can do. The way that I practice in terms of my background as a strength coach and how I work with the athletes I work with is not your stereotypical or traditional chiropractor. I do a ton of strength and rehab and movement training and everything like that, where a lot of chiropractors base their life on the adjustment. And that's one of the last things I think about in most of my care plans. One of my favorite things I've gotten from patients when I show them all the VALD stuff I work with is I get the question of, I thought you said you were a chiropractor. And I get to tell them, I am a chiropractor, but it's not necessarily what I do. Having the technology and being able to showcase that to my clients has made a world of difference in getting out the message of what type of services I provide and how exactly when people come to see me, what they're going to get. One thing that technology allows me to do that I was not able to do before was to get true objective measures, especially with the beauty of the VALD Hub and the organization of all the different metrics you are looking at, as well as getting the patient buy-in of seeing their progression over a care plan and visualize that improvement. Where, as I said before, having a very subjective approach before where I could tell them how I thought they were feeling and not really be able to give any concrete data, now I can show them the information and show them the data and say, hey, you are getting better. A lot of the high school athletes that I work with, I have a bunch of athletes where they'll look at their results on Move Health and I'll hear from some of their coaches, nice job, the guys were comparing their squat strength to each other this week. And they were holding up their Move Health apps and talking about how one was in the 100th percentile, one was in the 99th because of their normative values. Having that kind of engagement as well, leaving that kind of an impact on athletes where your clinic is still in their mind when they leave. The impact that makes in terms of marketing, in terms of image, is incredibly impressive, is incredibly helpful. As a clinician that's been in practice for almost a decade, I think that incorporating VALD into my practice has drastically improved my skill set and has really taken me to another level that I hadn't been at before. I had a lot of skills and I had a lot of knowledge when it came to applying rehab and applying strength programs to my athletes to get them results. By incorporating VALD technology, especially the Force Dex and the Force Frame, the precision at which I can do that now and the specificity for each athlete that I work with, that's where I've seen such a huge improvement in my own skills and knowledge as a clinician over the last year. How I am practicing now using this technology is drastically different even than how I was practicing 2-3 years ago. If I were to go and attend VALDCon down in Brisbane, it would be such an incredible experience because especially over the last year, I've gotten a chance to really get to know some of the people within the world of VALD. I've got to know a lot of the reps. My rep here in Wisconsin is fantastic. I owe him everything for letting me get access to this equipment and exposing me to this world. I think especially from a personal standpoint, it allows me to continue my growth as a clinician using this technology, learning from some of the best in the field, developing that kind of a community of practitioners that are beginning to use this in a more sport rehab performance type setting is going to be spread like wildfire throughout the community in the next few years. As professionally, as a chiropractor in the United States, there's a stigma, a preconception about a profession here where we are very traditional, crack and whack, not evidence-based practitioners, and that's really not the truth. Using this technology in the way that I do is incredibly rare among my profession. We have several docs that do use things like Human Track, or they do use the Dynamo to measure force, trying to help advance the profession towards the next stage of our evolution when it comes to really tracking objective measures, becoming a very integrative health profession with hospitals, with physical therapy, with strength coaches, and being able to have a better knowledge base and understanding of incorporating technology to get the outcomes that our athletes and that our patients want. And I think that as this technology becomes more and more relevant within those types of systems, we as a profession have to be well educated on how to use it. Being one of the early adopters from chiropractic in this technology would be incredibly beneficial and would really help with gaining exposure for the technology, learning more at VALDCon and be able to bring that back here to the United States and hopefully continue to educate and spread the word about how this kind of technology can impact healthcare and performance care in the next few years would be an extreme benefit. And I'm very excited for what the future holds.